I was part of it because of my distrust of the military. I'd been in the military for 4 years, and I was aghast at the, as I say, it was called, I call it the shilling of the Pentagon. No selling, it was shilling. And it was an institution that scared hell out of me. The United States had no right to be the king of the world, and the Pentagon's attitude was, see, if you were a lieutenant, you wanted to be a captain. If you were a captain, you wanted to be a colonel, and the way to do that was to find something to do. So there we were. And we talked about Dresden earlier. Mm-hmm. And Peter Davis was appointed to do the job. And he had one of his editors was a great admirer of Fidel Castro, for example. And I had to fire her because she wasn't being fair to, what was going on. And the Pentagon, I was the executive producer, but not the producer. Peter did it. And when it was shown, they said there were mistakes in it, and that the cutting had been incorrect. And
right.
So, yeah.
Before we get to that, though, could you just explain what the piece was about and what it was supposed to show?
Well, it showed the Pentagon selling itself, shilling, so it could ask for this great amount of money that it was getting. Mm-hmm. It had to prove that there was disaster that only the military could conquer. See, the Pentagon is always able. It's ready to fight the last war, like right now. Right now, we're ready to fight the last war. But that's not what the war is about, Why is all that equipment there? That damned F-35 that doesn't work. We put billions into it. And then they would bring businessmen in to convince them. Also, there was a business in armaments that were being sold to the Pentagon. And so we got a camera crew. Peter took a camera crew and followed these spectacles that the Pentagon would do, bringing in the businessmen, showing how important they were.
Did you have trouble getting access or clearance? Did you shoot those things? Did the Pentagon?
No, the Pentagon was all for it. After all, to them it was advertising, and they would fake things like us. At that time, where were we? In Vietnam. They would set up things for us in Vietnam to shoot, showing what they were doing.
Did they know the intention of what the bigger piece was about, though? Did they know?
No.
Did you know, or did it develop?
It developed, and I saw what it was. And as I say, I was the executive producer, not the producer. And I stayed with it as much as I could. But then after it was over, they really attacked it.
And what did they say?
That it was not only that it was prejudiced, but that it had violated the laws of editing.
They said you took things out of context.
Yeah, right. And then what happened, as you know, is that Stanton got subpoenaed to defend the show before the House of Representatives.
Which had that ever happened before?
Well, I'd been subpoenaed, but not on that level. And The problem was the outtakes. The guys who wanted to tear it apart wanted the outtakes, and we weren't going to give them. That was our business, and no outtakes. And they then tried to make a law saying they had to have the outtakes. And Stanton got up and said, "I won't give them to you."
Do you recall his argument of why?
Yeah, that this was freedom of the press. That the things that we had not published, that was up to us. And they were attacking the freedom of the press. And anyway, there's a couple of books been written about this. There's an excellent one. And Stanton faced whatever it is that the House could do to him. But he stood up, and then the House, he stood up to the committee, but then the House voted against the committee. And that was the end of the whole thing.
Well, what about the consequence or the repercussions of this having the House voting against the committee, and did that set a new standard? Did that?
That's right. Mm-hmm. It set the standards that the government could not ask under the First Amendment for the outtakes. That was our First Amendment privilege. Whether there were probably some minor mistakes in it, but history has shown that the Pentagon is greedy, excessive, unnecessary in its form, and what the hell are we doing in Afghanistan today?